Question period. The Leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Mr. Speaker, today 817,000 more students are now impacted by the chaos this government has created in our province's education system. With no EQAO testing, parents and students will lose out on this important assessment that lets them know how they're progressing in class. The absence of report card comments will likewise keep parents in the dark, and that's just the beginning of this strike action. The Education Minister said parents shouldn't be put through this uncertainty, but I remind you, Mr. Speaker, it is this government that has created this uncertainty through their flawed negotiation process. Premier, the Education Minister can't get the job done and she won't step aside. Will you fire your Minister of Education, end this chaos for Ontario parents, and make sure the children get the full education they deserve?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Appreciate it. I may have to reenact my original Thursday issue. When I stand, it stops. No shots. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I know that the Minister of Education is going to want to comment, but let me just say, Mr. Speaker, that we want very much for the teachers, the support staff, the students, all to be in class across the province, no matter what board, no matter what region of the province, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, I'm encouraged in terms of the elementary students in the public system that they'll remain in the classroom, and I'm pleased to see that ETFO has returned to the central table, Mr. Speaker, because the only way to get a deal is to be negotiating. And Mr. Speaker, we do believe in the collective bargaining process, and that is a real difference between us and the party opposite. We believe that the collective bargaining process should be allowed to work, Mr. Speaker. There is a new process in place that recognizes that there is a central process and local, Mr. Speaker. That was necessary in order for us to move forward, and we look very much forward to getting those deals at the table.
Supplementary.
Well, Premier, not only are the 817,000 elementary school students impacted, there are still nearly 72,000 students locked out of their classrooms. This government needs to think about those students for just a minute. Think about the Brock High School rugby team in Cannington, who have practiced so hard all year and now may not be able to compete at OFSA. Think about the grade 12 student from Sudbury, who's been practicing all year for a senior solo at a farewell concert that may never happen. Think about the student at St. Clair Secondary School in Whitby. She needs to be in her calculus class as she tries to prepare for an Ivy League education. Premier, make these students a priority. Fire that education minister so these students can get back to work, back to school.
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Premier.
Speaker, I do think about those students. That's exactly what I think about when I think about how important it is that we have a world-class education system in this province, Mr. Speaker. And that is exactly why, Mr. Speaker, it's very important that we have a process in place that allows us to work with our teacher and support staff partners, Mr. Speaker, that we get a deal at the table, that we honour the collective bargaining process, Mr. Speaker. That's very important to the relationship between all of the adults involved in the education system. I'm not happy with the fact that there are kids out of school, Mr. Speaker. I'm not happy at all about that. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I got involved in politics mostly because of the 26 million student days that were lost because of the previous government's inability to have a partnership with the education sector at all, Mr. Speaker. So we are absolutely committed to making sure that the collective bargaining process works, partaking of that, Mr. Speaker, and continuing to build up the best education system in the world.
Again to the Premier, students are being used as pawns in a process that this government has created. It's now obvious that no one seems to even know what the rules are, Mr. Speaker. When both the Education Minister and the leaders of teachers' unions make conflicting comments about what's an issue at the central bargaining table and what's an issue at the local table, is it any wonder that a settlement is nowhere in sight? Premier, for 16 days, Durham students have been without an education. For 11 days, students in the Rainbow District have been without an education. For 6 days, Peel students have likewise been denied an education by your government. And now, with over 800,000 elementary students impacted by your two-tier train wreck of a bargaining system,
Order.
It's clear the Education Minister is not up to the job. Once again, I ask you to do the right thing. Fire that Education Minister, get negotiations going, and get the kids back in the classroom.
You seated, please? Thank you. The member from Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke. You can ignore me all you want at your peril. Premier.
Minister of Education.
Minister of Education.
Yes, thank you very much. And obviously, we share the concern of everyone in this chamber from all three parties that there are students out of work or out of school, and we want to support those students. But what I would point out is that we are committed to the collective bargaining process, and Durham, where it is a local strike, there are
Member from Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
ETFO, the elementary teachers have returned to the table, and discussions are continuing. And that's how we're going to solve the problem, is by negotiations, and negotiations are going on. But we are very concerned about those students, particularly those secondary students who are out of class. And in fact, on Friday,
Member from Nepean Carleton and the Deputy House Leader.
I met with the Council of Ontario Universities, and we've met with the boards repeatedly, and we're working to put in to make sure the internet courses are there to support